He backed me into a corner of the empty boardroom, his voice a low growl that seemed to make the mahogany table vibrate. "I gave you everything, and you lied to me." In his hand was his phone, and on the screen was a picture from a friend's social media page. It was me and my fiancé, a man my boss never knew existed. The photo was from our engagement party, bursting with a kind of laughter and joy that felt a million miles away from the cold, sterile tension in this room. I had kept my personal life a secret to protect my career from this exact man, but seeing the obsessive jealousy twisting his face, I knew my biggest professional challenge wasn't going to be a project or a deadline. It was surviving him. To understand how my dream job turned into a waking nightmare, we have to go back 6 months, back to a time when I thought professionalism was a shield. I was about to learn that for some people, it's just a mask. This is a story about how fast boundaries can blur and how a dream can become a trap. If you've ever felt like you had to hide a part of yourself to get ahead, or if you've ever dealt with a workplace that felt way more personal than professional, subscribe for more stories about navigating the hidden dangers of the corporate world. 6 months ago, I was on top of the world. My name is Alara, and at 28, I was a senior marketing strategist at Apex Innovations, one of the most prestigious firms in the city. My work was my life, not because it had to be, because I loved the thrill of it, the puzzle of weaving a story so compelling it could change minds. And I was good at it. My campaigns were known for being clean, data-driven, and brutally effective. My ambition was my defining feature, and I was proud of it. I wanted to climb the ladder, but I wanted to do it based on the undeniable strength of my work, not by playing office politics. This fierce need for my work to speak for itself was the main reason I built a fortress between my professional and personal lives. My life outside Apex's glass towers was my sanctuary, and in that sanctuary was Liam. Liam, my fiancé, was an architect. He built real things with his hands, turning blueprints into tangible structures. It was a wonderful, grounding contrast to my world of abstract ideas and digital campaigns. Our relationship was my anchor. He was kind and supportive and completely unimpressed by corporate titles. He loved the me who kicked off her heels, threw her hair in a messy bun, and argued about which terrible reality TV show to watch. "Are you sure you don't want to just tell them?" he asked one evening. He had his arms wrapped around me while I was lost in a presentation on my laptop. He gently touched the sparkling diamond on my left hand. "It feels weird hiding something so happy." I sighed and leaned back against his chest. "It's not that I'm not happy, Liam. I'm over the moon. But at Apex, things are just different. The second you announce you're engaged, they start to see you differently. They see a woman whose focus is about to shift to wedding planning and then, maternity leave. I've seen it happen to other women. All of a sudden, they weren't being picked for the high-stakes projects. They were subtly sidelined, their ambition written off as a temporary phase before domesticity took over. I am this close to leading the Sterling Automotive account. It's the biggest client we have. I can't risk them seeing me as distracted. Not yet, just until I've locked in the promotion." Liam kissed the top of my head. He didn't really get the cutthroat culture, but he got me. "Okay, Alara, your call. I'm proud of you no matter what. Just be careful." I really should have listened to that quiet warning in his voice. The man who held the keys to my big break was Julian Croft, the executive vice president of strategy and my direct boss. Julian was, in a word, brilliant. He was in his early 40s with a massive reputation. He was charismatic, sharp-tongued, and had a way of looking at you that made you feel like you were the only person in the universe. In the beginning, he was the perfect mentor. He spotted my potential and pushed me, handing me opportunities others had to beg for. "Ilara, a word," he'd said one afternoon, catching me as I left a meeting. He led me to his corner office with its panoramic view of the city. "The Sterling Automotive pitch? I'm taking you off the junior team." My heart plummeted. "Oh, did I?" He smiled, that slow, confident smile that was his trademark. "And I'm making you the project lead. You'll report directly to me." I was floored. This was the exact opportunity I had been working for. Julian, thank you. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, he replied, his eyes intense. Just knock it out of the park. I know you can. And that's when my slow-motion descent began. At first, the signs of his interest were so small I explained them away, just little pixels in the bigger, brighter picture of my success. I told myself I was being paranoid. His compliments started to change. Great presentations slowly morphed into, "You were captivating in there today." Work praise started to get laced with personal observations. "That color really brings out your eyes," he remarked once, on a plain blue blouse. A tiny alarm would go off in my head, but I'd quickly silence it. This is just his way, I'd think. He's just a passionate leader, that's all. Then came the late-night emails. They'd start with a real work question about the Sterling project, but then drift into more personal territory. "Hope you're not working too late. You need your rest." Or, "Just saw a commercial for that restaurant you mentioned. Made me think of you." They were just friendly enough to seem innocent, but just personal enough to feel off. He kept finding more and more reasons for us to be alone. Debriefs that could have been an email became mandatory one-on-ones in his office. He'd close the door and the conversation would somehow always drift from market demographics to my life outside of work. "So, what does a brilliant mind like yours do to unwind? Don't tell me you just read market reports all weekend." "I have a quiet life," I'd say, keeping my answers as vague as possible. He would watch me with this unnerving focus, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. He remembered tiny things I had mentioned weeks ago. "You said you liked old black and white films. Ever see The Third Man?" At first, it was flattering to be seen so clearly by someone so important, but that flattery was slowly starting to feel like surveillance. The professional spotlight was starting to feel like a microscope. My dream job was taking off, but a small, cold knot of anxiety was forming in my stomach. I was so focused on the promotion that I told myself this was just the admission price. It was the toll you paid for a seat at the table. I was so wrong. It wasn't a toll. It was a trap, and I was walking right into it.
The change was gradual, like the tide coming in. You don't see it happening, but suddenly you look up and you're surrounded. Julian's mentorship, which once felt empowering, now felt like a heavy cloak of ownership. The Sterling project was going great, and my work was getting praise from the top, but Julian's approval started to feel conditional. It wasn't just tied to my performance anymore, but to my constant availability to him. His questions about my personal life became more like interrogations. He'd corner me by the coffee machine on Monday morning. "So, what adventures this weekend? Anything exciting?" If I gave a vague answer, he'd turn cold and dismissive for the rest of the day. It felt like I was being punished for having a life he wasn't a part of. It was a quiet, suffocating form of control. The workload he gave me became a mountain, designed to keep me in the office late, long after everyone else had gone home. At first, I thought it was a sign of his trust, but I soon realized it was a strategy to isolate me. "Just you and me, Alara," he'd say, stopping by my desk at 8 p.m. with 2 coffees, burning the midnight oil. These late nights became his stage for forced intimacy. He'd talk about his messy divorce, his loneliness, how no one understood the pressure he was under. He was no longer just my boss. He was trying to cast himself as some tragic hero and me as his sole confidant. The professional boundary was crumbling. Then came the first clear act of sabotage. It was so cleverly disguised as an accident that I almost believed it. I was prepping for a huge review with the Sterling executives. A big chunk of my presentation relied on new analytics from the data team. The deadline passed. Nothing. I emailed the team lead, who was confused. "Julian picked up that data set himself yesterday," he replied. "Said he was going to give it to you personally." Panic seized me. I went to Julian's office. He was on a call and just waved me away. For 2 hours, I was in limbo. With only an hour left before the meeting, he finally called me in, a look of fake concern plastered on his face. "Alara, I am so sorry. This data is a mess. I was trying to synthesize it for you, but it got away from me." He handed me a chaotic jumble of spreadsheets. "We'll have to go in there and just wing it. I'll cover for you. I'll tell them I held the data back for review."
He wanted to be my savior in a crisis he created. He was setting me up to fail just so he could swoop in and look indispensable. The power play made me dizzy, but I refused to let him win. For the next 45 minutes, I worked with a cold, frantic fury. I found the story in the data, built 3 key slides, and walked into that meeting running on pure adrenaline. I didn't just present, I performed. I absolutely nailed it. Walking out of the conference room, Julian put a hand on my arm, his grip surprisingly tight. He was impressive, he said, his voice low. You're full of surprises. But there was no warmth in his eyes. There was something else, sharp and calculating. He had tested me, and I had passed, but instead of respect, I felt his resentment. My competence wasn't an asset to him anymore. It was a threat to his control. That was the moment I stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. The dream job had revealed its toxic core, and the constant humming anxiety was starting to poison my life outside of work. I was jumpy and irritable. I started having nightmares about the office. He did what? Liam said, his fork stopping halfway to his mouth as I told him about the data incident. His usual calm was gone, replaced with a steely anger. Ilara, this isn't just a tough boss. This guy is actively trying to undermine you. I know, I whispered, the shame and stress bubbling up. But what can I do? If I go to HR, it's my word against his. He's the company's golden boy. They'll just see me as some disgruntled employee who can't handle the pressure. So you're just going to let him get away with it? No, I said, a new resolve hardening inside me. I start documenting. From that day on, I became the quiet archivist of my own harassment. I saved every single inappropriate email to a password-protected folder on my personal drive. I started a detailed journal on my phone, noting every personal comment, every time he took credit for my ideas, every meeting I was excluded from. After one conversation where he implied my promotion was tied to my loyalty, I downloaded a voice recording app. I felt sick doing it, but I felt even sicker at the thought of being powerless. I was building a case. I was building a weapon. The close call happened 2 weeks later. It was our anniversary, and Liam, knowing I'd be stuck at the office, decided to surprise me. Around 9 p.m., he walked into the empty lobby, holding a bouquet of my favorite flowers. He texted me to come down. For a moment, I was so happy and relieved to see him that I forgot to be careful. I rushed out of the elevator and threw my arms around him. He spun me around, and we were just 2 people completely in love, oblivious to everything. But we weren't invisible. From his corner office window overlooking the lobby, Julian saw everything. He saw the easy intimacy, the joyful hug, the man who was not him holding me like I was the center of the universe. He didn't know who Liam was. He didn't have to. All he saw was his perceived property in the arms of another man. The next day, the office felt like a freezer. Julian was a storm cloud of passive aggression. He ignored my greetings and publicly shot down my ideas in a team meeting. During a department-wide presentation, he interrupted me to correct a minor data point, a statistic he himself had approved the day before. He did it with a patronizing air of disappointment, designed purely to humiliate me. The message was loud and clear. You displeased me, and you will pay for it. I went home that night and cried in Liam's arms, not from sadness, but from a mix of rage and fear. This wasn't just about his ego anymore. This was a personal vendetta. And what Julian didn't know was that while he was busy trying to break me, I was meticulously building the case that would bring him down.
Julian's suspicion curdled into a full-blown obsession. He became a detective of my personal life, but his methods were clumsy with desperation. He started asking my work friend, Sarah, probing questions. Ilara seems so private. Does she have a boyfriend? I just worry she doesn't have a life outside of work. Sarah, loyal to me, would just shrug. Ilara's just focused. She likes her privacy. His digital snooping got more blatant. He couldn't get into my personal files, but he scoured the internet. He found my lockdown social media, which gave him nothing, but then he started looking through my friends' profiles, and he found it. A public photo album on Sarah's account from my engagement party a few months back. The caption read, "So thrilled for my bestie Ilara and the amazing Liam. Can't wait for the wedding." And there it was. The main photo was a candid shot of Liam dipping me in a dance. We were both laughing, my hand on his chest, the diamond on my finger catching the light. It was a picture of pure joy. To Julian, it was a picture of the ultimate betrayal. The next morning, the air was electric. He didn't speak to me.
Then around noon, an email popped up. The subject, boardroom, now. This is it, I thought, my heart hammering. I grabbed my phone, my thumb hovering over the voice memo app. I walked into the empty boardroom. He was standing at the far end, his back to me. When he turned, his face was a mask of cold fury. This was the moment I'd been dreading. This was where the story really began. "I gave you everything," he growled, striding to the table and slamming his phone down. The picture of me and Liam stared up at us. "I fast-tracked your career. I trusted you, and you lied to me every single day." "My personal life is not your business, Julian," I said. My voice was shaking, but it was firm. "My engagement has zero bearing on my ability to do my job." He let out a harsh, ugly laugh. "No bearing? You think this has no bearing? You were dishonest. You let me believe you were this dedicated, available strategist. You let me invest in you personally." "Any personal investment you think you made was in your own head," I shot back, my fear burning away into anger. "I am here to work. That's it." "We'll see about that," he hissed. "We'll see how well you work when you have nothing left." His sabotage was no longer subtle. It was a full-scale assault designed to destroy my career. The final presentation for the Sterling Automotive account, the culmination of 6 months of my life's work, was in 2 days. Julian went straight to the senior partners. He told them he'd made a grave error. He claimed he discovered I was unstable and unreliable. He twisted my privacy into secrecy, fabricating a story that he feared I was leaking campaign strategies to a competitor. The partners, who only knew Julian as a star performer, were concerned. "Let me handle it," he told them. "I'll salvage the account." But his real masterpiece of sabotage came the night before the presentation. I logged into the server to do one final review of my deck. It was gone. The entire folder, the presentation, all the research, the videos, the budgets, wiped. My heart stopped. I checked the logs. Files deleted at 10:37 p.m. The user who deleted them? Julian Croft. He thought he had me. He thought I'd walk into that meeting empty-handed and broken. He would step in as the hero, presenting a watered-down version of my work that he'd saved for himself, and I would be fired. He had planned my corporate execution perfectly. He made one critical mistake. He underestimated me. The next morning, I walked into the main conference room with a calm I didn't feel. The senior partners were there, faces grim. The Sterling Automotive team was seated, expectant, and at the head of the table sat Julian, a look of smug, fake sympathy. "Unfortunately," Julian began, "we've had a significant technical issue. Ilara's final files were corrupted and lost. A devastating setback. As her manager, I take full responsibility. I will do my best to walk you through the core concepts, but I'm afraid the full presentation is—" "That won't be necessary, Julian." My voice was clear and steady, cutting right through his performance. Every eye in the room swiveled to me. I walked to the podium and plugged a small USB drive into the laptop. My presentation, in all its glory, loaded onto the main screen. "I keep personal backups of all major projects. It's a best practice to prevent issues, like, for instance, a supervisor deliberately deleting your work the night before a client presentation." Julian's face went white. The color just drained right out of it. "Before I begin," I continued, my voice ringing with a power I didn't know I had, "there is a serious internal matter of professional misconduct, workplace harassment, and attempted sabotage that must be addressed." And then I unleashed everything. For the past 6 months, I have been subjected to a campaign of escalating harassment by Mr. Croft. I clicked to the next slide. It wasn't about cars. It was a timeline. I detailed everything. I showed them the printouts of his late-night emails. I played a short, damning audio clip from my phone, a recording of him telling me my future at the company depended on how well I managed our relationship. Mr. Croft's attention became obsessive. When he discovered I was engaged, his behavior escalated into active sabotage. I brought up the server logs showing his username and the exact time he deleted my files. He set me up to fail today in front of all of you, to punish me for having a life he felt entitled to. I looked at Julian. He was frozen, his mouth hanging open, a perfect portrait of a man watching his world collapse in real time. The mask was gone, revealing the petty, insecure man underneath. I gave you secret because I've seen how this company sidelines ambitious women. But more than that, I said, my voice full of the simple, clear truth, I kept it a secret because my gut told me I was not safe from my own boss. Today proved my gut was right. I turned back to the screen and clicked to the title slide of my Sterling Automotive presentation. Now, I said, turning to the clients with a small, confident smile, shall we talk about the future of automotive marketing? The fallout was immediate and spectacular. The Sterling executives were appalled, but they were also incredibly impressed. They immediately requested a private meeting with the partners and made it crystal clear that their multi-million-dollar account depended on two things. I would be the sole leader of their account, and they would never have to be in the same room as Julian Croft. For the partners, the choice was easy. The risk of a massive lawsuit, plus the loss of their biggest client, made Julian a liability they couldn't afford. While the Sterling team and I discussed the campaign in another room, Julian was quietly escorted out of the building, a pathetic box of his belongings in his hands. His golden reputation was shattered. The next day, I was promoted to Director of Strategy, with a significant raise and a bonus as an acknowledgement of what I had endured. I had won. I had not only survived, but I had triumphed. I could stay and enjoy the victory, but every time I walked past Julian's now empty corner office, I felt a chill. The battle was won, but it had left scars. I realized my greatest professional asset wasn't my ambition or my talent, it was my integrity, and that was something no toxic boss could ever take away. Too many people have stories like this. If you've ever had to stand up to a toxic boss or a difficult work environment, please share your story in the comments. You never know who you might empower. And for more content on navigating your career and finding your strength, make sure to subscribe.